Hello everyone, I'm the Enforcer and welcome to the breaking news. Today's breaking news is that Ukrainian forces have conducted another major strike on Russian air defense systems within the area of Crimea, possibly destroying or knocking out multiple S-300 batteries and S-400 batteries that are within the area. According to the information that we got from Visegrad24, Ukraine struck 3 Russian air defense systems in Crimea overnight. 2 S-400 batteries were struck near Belbek and Sevastopol, while an S-300 battery was hit near the Belbek airfield. Ukraine has intensified its strikes against Russian air defense systems in Crimea in recent days. The reason why we believe that they've increased their amount of strikes within Crimea is because they've been currently conducting a major air campaign against Russian air defenses to try and wear them down and make sure that Crimea's skies are more open in the future to possible Ukrainian attacks on critical Russian infrastructure. The Russian Federation has also begun to realize this and has also begun to see the weakness or vulnerability of these surface-to-air missile systems from ATACMS attacks, and they've begun to give orders for the Russian army, the entire division operating the air defense systems within this area, to evacuate and move into the area of Belgorod, which we understand that order was issued only 2 days ago. At the moment, it appears that order is still being carried out, with Russian air defense systems now decreasing in number within the region, and also the families of service members continuing to make the trip across the Kerch Bridge and across the Kerch Strait and back into the Russian Federation, most likely to relocate into the area of Belgorod. Ukrainian forces, however, do not want these air defenses to leave Crimea intact and move into the Belgorod area, trying to create a somewhat stronger air defense shield for the Russian forces in that area. For this reason, we are starting to see that their attacks are being greatly ramped up on the remaining Russian air defense systems that are in Crimea because they want to destroy them before they can move out. Of course, this appears to be proving to have some positive results, as we are hearing that apparently 3 Russian air defense batteries were stricken last night and may be in various states of damage or complete destruction. We will have to wait and see what kind of exact information on the damage we can get going on into the future, but we were also able to hear the powerful explosions that did occur across Crimea last night, showing that the S-300 and S-400 systems were being hit. We see the Russian air defense attempting to intercept and destroy the incoming the ATACMS missiles with the S-400 batteries. We can see them continuously launching off the rockets, attempting an interception, but from what we understand, largely failing at an attempt to intercept. That's the end of that clip, but still showing us a little bit of what happened over the skies of Crimea last night. While the Russian air defense is once again in really the death throes within Crimea, and we're seeing their final days within the peninsula before they move into the area of Belgorod, we are understanding that a lot of these forces are having to be transported across the Kerch Bridge. The families of the service members themselves, and the equipment that made up these S-400 batteries are being loaded up on railroad locomotives and then being transported by rail across the Kerch Strait on the Kerch Bridge. Of course, with the Kerch ferry crossings largely being knocked out at this point, we do understand that the bridge has now once again become a primary movement of Russian supplies from one side of Russia and into occupied Crimea. We do get to see that the Russians are once again starting to build up massive barge barriers surrounding the bridge, as we can see right here, in an attempt to stop Ukrainian drones from attacking the bridge and possibly knocking it out or causing a serious amount of destruction. There are, however, ship channel lanes that still go through the bridge to allow passage into the area of the Azov Sea and now into the Black Sea, but nevertheless, this is showing that once again the Russians are putting a lot of emphasis on the Kerch Bridge, as it is now their only link, their only artery into the entirety of the Crimean Peninsula. If the Ukrainians were able to successfully knock out this bridge, that means that not only are the railroad ferry crossings completely knocked out at the moment, but the actual bridge crossings would be knocked out as well, meaning that Crimea would be completely severed from the rest of the Russian mainland, and if any Russian forces wanted to move in or out of Crimea, they would have to take the much longer route, starting at Rostov-on-Don and making its way all the way around what is called the Crimean Land Bridge, a very unsuitable route for Russian logistics, and something that would pose pose massive challenges going on into the future, also considering that most of that route would be under the direct threat of Ukrainian fire the entire time. Although the Kerch Strait is under a similar kind of a threat, that threat is much more I guess you could say numerous within the area of the southern Ukrainian land bridge, as more Ukrainian weapon systems like the GMLRS can actually target and reach even the deepest Russian supply lines within this area of Ukraine. Moving on from that news, we also got the major breaking news that Armenia is officially withdrawing from the CSTO, which is a Russian defensive organization that is similar in or analogous to NATO. According to Samuel Romani, Samuel Romani said that Armenia just announced that it will quit the Russian-led CSTO. This drastic move will have major implications for the South Caucasus and also Russian foreign policy moves. And also he went on to have some thoughts about it. But nevertheless, this is giving us a fairly considerable idea that the CSTO is fracturing at a rate that's a little bit quicker than NATO. The CSTO does not really have that many members. It's mostly just Russia, Belarus, Armenia, I believe Azerbaijan, and a couple of Central Asian countries as well, but not that many of them. The fact that Armenia has withdrawn, and especially considering that the Russians appear to have backed up Azerbaijan recently in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflicts that have begun in this area, it is giving us a very clear indicator that the Russian Federation is starting to lose its grip within the area of the Caucasus Mountain region. And this will be leading us to believe that the Russians will most likely be getting a lot more hostile or a lot more unpredictable within this area as they try and keep control of the remaining power that they have with Azerbaijan, West Abkhazan, which is this area that is an unofficial recognized country within the region of Georgia, and also South Ossetia, which is right here just north of the Georgian capital. They will most likely be trying to hold on to their last throws of power within this area, but those may be slipping as well, as we're seeing that the war in Ukraine is starting to show major fractures, not only in the Russian economy, but also in Russia's foreign policy and Russia's diplomatic efforts worldwide. And speaking of the massive fractures that have been caused economically, we heard that today the Moscow exchange will stop exchanging or stop the trade of the US dollars due to United States sanctions. This is a massive deal, and once again showing that the Russian Federation is in an incredibly bad economic state, as the US dollar was largely, before the war, the Russian reserve currency. The Russians have desperately tried to switch over to the yuan, although the yuan has a lot more restrictions put on it by the Chinese, and it's not as open of a reserve currency, not really being traded by that many countries around the world. So the Russians are in a bit of a pickle as far as the economic side of things goes, and it is certainly starting to show as they're now stopping the trade in US dollars for that specific reason. Meanwhile, other countries seem to be doing fairly okay, and Argentina is one of them, as they are saying that they will send several Dasault Etendards to Ukraine. According to the information that we have, 5 Dasault Super Etendards, which you can see right here in the picture below, will be provided to Ukraine. However, they do have to overcome the sanctions that were put onto the aircraft by the British, considering that these aircraft were used against the British in the Falklands War. But nevertheless, they will be sending these to Ukraine if everything goes through, and these will be able to support Ukrainian efforts on the ground as far as their armed forces are concerned. This will be a major development for the Ukrainians, as this will once again be giving them a little bit of a slightly advanced aircraft. It's not that advanced. These aircraft haven't been around since the 1980s, and while aircraft like the F-16 and the F-15 have been as well, the Dasault Etendard has not gotten the full suite of upgrades and different kinds of modifications that would allow it to be as modern and as competent an aircraft as an F-15 or an F-16 or any other aircraft from that time in history. Nevertheless, it will be a massive improvement to Ukraine's air defense situation, as it will allow more airframes to be used by the Ukrainian Air Forces, more pilots to be available, and therefore more sorties to possibly be conducted at any given moment. Going off of that, this is going to be a, once again, big thing for Ukraine, and hopefully we'll get to see that this starts to put them into a very positive situation going forward with their air defense. Not only with the provision of F-16s and Mirage 2000s, but now Assault Etendards, which are largely made for an air-to-ground or an anti-ship role. But with that, that is all of the major breaking news that we have today. I've got to thank every single one of y'all so much once again for watching. If y'all did enjoy, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support this channel on Patreon. The link is in the description below. It helps this channel be possible. It helps us to make video projects like these possible. And a huge shout out to all of our patrons who are currently supporting this channel and helping us to continue to be able to do this as a job. And so with that, I thank you all so much once again for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.